Okay, hey, hello TDG. This is B-Rad. I'm gonna do a little bit of playback recording and review Friday, the December 12th, and kind of look at where we are setting up. This is 8 a.m. Before the open. So looking at the MES real quickly, you can see here. Let's go ahead and maximize this window. You can see yesterday we pushed up on Thursday. We pushed up with the close in the news, broke out to these new highs up to 69.30, pushed back down overnight into under the 6,900 range, and currently sitting at a price right around 69.08. So you can see here for the week. We've been trading in this range, and even for the previous week, we've been down in this area. So you can kind of look here. This, if we want to look, this is a high volume area node. So if I was to draw a volume flow profile and extend it over these many days all the way back to December or November 28th. So right after the Thanksgiving holiday, we extend it all the way here. You can see here's the high volume node. Okay, so you can see it planted over here, but when you're not looking at the profile directly, you can see it here with all of these points of controls on these days. You have a stacked one here, here. So if you were to draw a little bit of a rectangle that kind of includes all of those points of control, this would be considered a high volume area. Let's see if I've got that one loaded up here. Single prints. No. Okay. So this would be just a VPOC stacked VPOC area. And sometimes we kid and call this the gold bar. What that means to me when I call it a gold bar is that this is a highly traded area over the last 2 weeks, and price when it gets out to the edges tends to fade back towards that, or on the bottom, if we start at the bottom, it tends to work its way back up there. Yesterday on Thursday we saw it push down below these bars and then trade right back through it, came back up, so it stayed throughout the day in the MES. It stayed inside this gold bar on Thursday, and then with the news and whatnot. This was FOMC day on Wednesday, so we traded here. FOMC kicked in, dipped a little bit, and then took off to a higher area and hung out there the rest of the close of the session. And then Thursday, the new session on Thursday, Thursday session, faded and took it all the way back, and then proceeded to trade it back up on Thursday, all the way up to break those new high area. And then we're seeing here back starting off on Friday morning. So looking here, we're on the outside edges of this particular world. So a higher probability is to look at shorting back towards this middle would be an assumption. Now let's take a look at with MNQ. What are we seeing along with that? I like to kind of look at both markets. Right now, MNQ is right down in the middle of the muck. So it is holding a kind of a bearish position. It pushed down bearish under the T line. So we're in a bearish inside day neutral area at this particular point, and the price is pushing up right at the neutral point. So you have the gold bar here, you have the gold bar sitting above you. So the potential is to see the resistance from the gold bar pushing, either breaking back through to continue, but if you hold resistance here, you can see a rotation back down to either some of this previous stuff here, low of days or whatever. So these are the kind of things that you start to mentally do with your checklist in the morning before trading. So these are the two that we're looking at. So let's go ahead and set up a start to go from there. Thank you. And let's start the day. I'm going to move this up to like a 30x, 50x speed just to get the day moving here a little bit. And looking here, we're coming off of VWAP. We're pushing down underneath. We're sitting down. This MES is holding up at the top of its zone where MNQ is right in the middle of it at the VWAP area. So the overall mental plan is to short from these areas back down towards the previous day POC, which the previous day POC is showing at 68.67. So what we'll do here is set this up. I'm going to set up a sell limit up in this area here. We'll leave it right about there to see if it comes back to VWAP. We will get involved. And so our overall plan is to trade it back towards the gold bar and see what happens. So we'll let it start up and crank up, and we'll see when the morning starts up. And here's the time. So it's 8:14, 8:15, 8:16. And another thing too, down here, you can do quickly, you could do a one contract trade set up on the minus twos on the MNQ. So you could set that up because usually when you first start, okay, so it sets up here. Well, good God, it's going too fast. Anyway, hold on, I'm going to pause it. The reason why I would set it up here too, because even with it shaking out a little bit, you start to see the battles test and trust the bands for a little bit before it decides on a direction. And that's why I would rotate the first one back up towards the VWAP area. So it went ahead and took the trade on that one contract from here and then got up to here and took the profit on that. So that was where we ended up with the $100. So go ahead and extend here. We do have a two contract trade looking at where we are on the positioning. So we would also, I'd like to see if we get down towards this T line or into this area, looking at a long back up into this a little bit. So we would watch that on the MES and also on the MNQ. So let's just keep an eye on that. So I'd probably put a one contract here on that level as well, just to test this 500 level and this naked POC, just to see. So let's go ahead and I'm going to lock this trade into, I'm going to attach it to the VWAP line. So if it comes back up to VWAP line, we're locked in on that. All right, trade on. It's 8:30. The open has just happened. Making sure. Yep. Okay. So we're letting this thing trade out. It's got indecision. It's bouncing in between here. We are staying at the 6,900. Okay, so we just picked up two contracts here. Good night. Put that down here, and this is our stop limit. I'm moving our stop limit down. We picked up those two. So we're still okay. So it's target filled here. Look how fast it's going, and now see if it bounces. Okay, so it didn't pick us up at the naked POC. It got close, and it is rotating back through. Now let's watch a minute. Okay, so here, if we are to come back up here, we would do this again. So, I mean, we've only traded three contracts or four, yeah, three contracts. And we're not even, I mean, we're just letting this thing trade off of the lines. And now I've got a new one setting up here. If we come back up to VWAP, we've got another one set up here. Our overall trade strategy is trading it back towards this gold bar. We see the red candles that have been put in overnight. and we're seeing consistency here. And as long as we're under 6,900 and under this point of control, we still expect, or not expect, we still have a probability of it trading back into range and back towards this high volume node. That's the whole reason. Now we are looking at a bounce at this particular level here on the MNQ, looking at it potentially bouncing at its naked POC or its POC from yesterday, the price level at yesterday around this 49 or 498 or 500. And so let's go ahead and trade on. It's 9:01 now in the morning, so let's just trade. If it comes back and picks us up at POC, we're in good here. Now we have our 25-point stop, and look at that. Okay, so we lost, okay, $50 in trade now. Okay, so now let's look here. All right, boom. Let me pause for a minute. So it's 9:10. We come down here and we dipped at T line. Okay, so one thing to watch for is MES hit the top of this T line and got close to this point of control. Okay, that would have been a point that I would have looked at trading here, but we're going fast, so that's fine. I would look at trading the bounce off of this, and you can see the ES touched T line and bounced up a little bit. You can see the MNQ at that same time frame bounced off of this level and is making a little bit of a bounce here. Okay, we are in a strong push of a downturn. So one thing that we want to do is if it comes back up anywhere to this, we're still trading back continuously down into this high volume node. We first touch it here. So if we rotate back up anywhere to the 89s and 90s, we'd want to get back involved. Here at the 500, same idea. So what we would do here is go ahead and put an order on the line somewhere around here to sell this particular area again. Okay, so we're just keeping an eye on it. And we're also looking at possibly buying here, buying this level. Okay, so let's go ahead and trade on. So we're bracketing the prices. We're looking at areas of resistance up here and areas of support down here. And we're looking at that within this world here. So we're first looking at assuming if it comes into the gold bar, seeing if the gold bar supports, buyers support it and bounce it back up. Okay, so that's next trade. We trade on. Okay, so far we're just kind of sitting in the middle of this range and it's kind of holding in that area. Now you can see MES is pushing down and revisited that their POC, took out their naked POC. Okay, so we're bracketed in. The reasons why we put our brackets on the lines here, we're keeping an eye on it. It's still working its way further down to come down to this low day. Okay, now, so we picked up this particular trade. We do have 25-point stops on our levels. Okay, so 25-point stops is a $50 trade. This is a scout. We're looking for some reaction off of here. If it fails down, then that's okay. If not, that's a $50 trade. All right, so we're keeping an eye on it. MES is where? MES is right in the middle of this muck. Okay. So if it gets down to the middle of this muck, then also if it gets down to the lower side of this, then we're looking at potentially along around this 47, just to test it again, test it one time to see. Also, we're looking here because the way it's moving down, I would move this stop to bracket it in. I would move it to here. So we would sell off somewhere in this range here if we were to break this volume level. So we would put up here under these swings to sell this contract and then to pick up a contract on this move. That's where we'd be looking at it. So, all right, trade on. Okay, it takes us out. Okay, so now when we're taking out there, the question is, is there something here at a level that we want to get involved again? Okay, so we're looking at the 47s on a long. All right, right now we've got a strong candle pushing lower. So right now we're not sure of the longs because of this, or we're looking at it, but we're not sure. So if we pierce it down and then trade above it, then maybe we reclaim and get back involved. But right now we still believe that there's, I mean, the overall trade theory has played out because we had a high probability of trading out of this level, out of the upper bands of this or the lower volume nodes in this upper area, trading back to higher volumes, and that's exactly what that did. So in terms of even just putting one contract on the line and letting it trade all the way to here, that's all those are all possibilities. Excuse me. So let's real quick look at MNQ. MNQ, okay, so we're now at new territory down here. We're at 380. You can kind of see we have little bitty shelves here, little bitty shelves. We have a strong shelf down here around the 187s. So if it was to come all the way down, maybe somewhere around if you looked at that shelf, you come down the S2s, you come down anywhere around this, this lower quadrant underneath these stacked. You could say somewhere in, let's, put an order on the line somewhere down here around this base of here. Doubt we'd ever get picked up, but if we do, we're going to go ahead and put we'll put an order on the line down there. What do we call it? Let's see. You can see this level. You can see the lower volume shelf of this. So I would say, let's just say put it down here right at that bottom level of 151 or 150. So if you're looking all the way down and trying to just remember levels, all you're doing is putting an order on the line. And now we know why we have this order on the line. That's the point, is we have an order on the line for some sense of there it is there, so we can see it over on this side too. We put it there for that reason. We could put it here around the we could put another one around this 295, so 295. So we can do the exact same thing here and put another order on the line here. Okay, so we've got our peppered the books. We've got $50 trades here. We're sitting at 296 at the moment. And we're just kind of looking break. And I'm going to move this down a little bit because of this high volume node here. I would say let's put it down to right about there. If it bounces, whatever, because now we bounced outside of this level. We're outside the gold bar area, and we'll keep an eye on what's possible. Trade on MES. I'm going to flip back over. MES is now still at this bar level, so let's see a minute here. Okay, all right. So now we just got picked up at that 295 level. Okay, we can also see here we're at the lower part of this bar of the gold bar on the MES. So if we come back up here anywhere to touching, getting close up here, we'll go ahead and let that trade on and we'll see. All right, so go ahead. And at this point, because we are moving up there, I would move this into a break even hold. Normally, I would be definitely at a break even hold and let it, whatever. Okay, so now we hit our target there. Okay, so now reason why we had that target there is because this is the low. We broke below the low of day. We're coming back in and retesting the low of day. And if the sellers are still, really, really strong here, they're going to use this level as a level of resistance. And they're going to engage there to make the next level down. That's where we're looking at it there. So we're comfortable at the moment here. We could put trying to look here. We just bounced off of this level, so we're right in the middle of this muck right now. So at this point, we're really kind of trading in the middle as if we were trading in the VWAP bands, that we were right on top of the VWAP versus being on the outside bands. We started up here in the -2s or +2 area of the offer zone in the MES and trade it back to VWAP. That's basically looking at the range trader, making a similar assumption of trading the outside ranges back towards the high volume area. Okay, so now, here we're looking to see, will it support and move back up, or will it stay here, or will it move down to the lower part of this current range? Those are all the things that we're paying attention to now because we're in the middle of it, but we're not going to try to force a trade in the middle of this because it's very low probability. Trade on. Now, you remember over here this is the MES, on the MNQ, we still have some pickup orders here that we're looking at. We're looking at, that's a high side prices down here. We have the 437 here, and then we have somewhere around this 150 level here. Whatever, somewhere down here, let's call it the 134, because you want to be kind of at the lower part of that. You're not assuming that you're going to get picked up. We just bounced off the 300. Here's our next level of probably testing this 200. So we would test this level here at this naked POC area as well. So these now are outside ranges of the bands for that. Trade on. Let's move back over to the MES, keep an eye on what's going on here, and trade on. It is 9:34 in the session. So right now we're picking up in the middle of the muck. We'd move back into this +1. If we got a visit of the +1s, we would pick up an order there for a continuation, at least back down into this current level. So you can see right now, it's just hanging out in this area. The battle's happening of where they're trying to keep it outside day down, and the buyers are trying to get it back inside day. Sellers are, you can see the battle. So if we pick up a -1, then we're looking for, more continuation or rotation into the muck here. One thing to note too, look at the 30-minute candle. The green, the buyers during this candle have pushed up and they pushed it up to the top of this gold bar. So if we look here, they pushed up here, opened, and then pushed all the way up to the top of that gold bar right there. And then the sellers said, nope, we're going to keep pushing it lower. So the battle is going on in between this area. Why? Because there's stacked points of control and there's high volume here. So it's just ping-ponging and picking up orders all through here, and there's a continuous battle. So let it battle on. We don't need to be in the middle of that. We let it go, and we keep an eye on it. Let me shrink out a little bit. You can kind of see where we're holding and why. Okay, because we're right in the middle of this muck. We're not. Now, you could have. Okay, so now let's see if we get picked up around the 2s. Now, remember, let's go back to why we had an order on the line at this 196 level. If we push over here to the range trader and look, okay, the reason why we have an order sitting here is because of this stack points of control to my left that are on November 25, 26, 27. This is the low area. So we're looking to see if there's any kind of support at this level. So right now we haven't been picked up, but we're just going to pay attention to it and see. We do have a sell limit order at here. You can see right here, our bands have moved down. Our bands were up here and have moved down closer to the low of day of the previous day. So now we have a strength of signal for our sell limit here, which is even better if it comes back up into that area to pick us up, but it is not. So we keep an eye on this and trade on. And let's see what happens here. And it is 10 a.m. in the morning. So PTR is just wrapping up here. Let's see what happens. Let's see where the rotations go. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of response back into the bands at the moment. So they're really trying to see if they can get it back up towards this low of day. See if there's enough strength in the buyers to get it pushed back up here. That's something we're going to watch for. Trading on. So far we're just trading at this particular level, resting a moment and chewing through these orders around this little micro range of 280 down to 220, 200. And so it's still holding in that area. Range traders looking to push down to that level. We'll see if there's any kind of response. Okay, so the order's in, and I don't understand why I didn't put in my stop. We'll have to take and see here a minute. Okay. So my $50 stop, it hadn't hit it yet. Let's see here. Okay, we'll stop. Okay, I don't know why it didn't lock in my ATM strategy, but we will close that current one at 62 because we normally have a stop there. Of course, it closed everything. I hit the wrong button. Anyway, all right, so let's go ahead and so we close that one, and then we still are looking at our bottom of this level here. So we're somewhere around the 135 range or whatever. So right in here, right in here, yeah, actually, because we're pushed down to this level, you could probably do a two contract, and we do have some availability there. So I would do a look at a let's cancel this one, and I would look at putting a two contract uh, trade somewhere, give it right around. I don't care wherever. It doesn't matter because we're looking here at the bottom of this particular level and looking at the stack box and the bottom of that particular high volume node. So we're looking, well, we might move it up just a little bit just to make sure we're kind of included. If it breaks any further down into this area, we're included in that match here. Keep an eye on it. This is MNQ, flip back over to MES just to kind of keep an eye on that. Guess what? We're coming into this low of day right here at the 15s, and then we have 6,800 down here below. So typically you have some resistance. So if you were to anywhere we get close to 6,800, then I'm definitely looking at a long from the MNQ or the MES from that level back towards this middle, or at least back up off of this particular touch. We will see. Excuse me. All right, trade on. It's 10:05. Boom, boom, boom. So we're still pushing down in this level. And sellers are still. We didn't get picked up, so we're just keeping an eye on it. It is now 10:16, 10:30. One thing, let's go ahead and go back here. If we get back up here to the 300 level, then we would go back to a one contract here, somewhere around the 300 level. I would bracket this area now that we're kind of in a new zone, so I would bracket this area a little bit on the rotations. And you can see with the expansion of the bands, okay, when we put this order online, the bands weren't near here, right? But now with the price moving down, the bands have now expanded to that level that we had already put in here. So now I've got a strength of signal down at this level, and I've got a -2 touch down here. So this is, to me, this is some good. This is a good place to be. Um, so I'm comfortable with where we're at right there. All right, so go ahead, trade on. Oh, okay, we get okay. Wait a minute. Now let's do something here. Okay, okay. Now when these take profits move into play here, they're only the default. So I adjust them once they get executed. I adjust them to, first off, this 200 level would be the first touch, and then anything around the 250 or any in this level up here would be my second touch. Right, probably about right there, give or take, because I'm looking at the volume shelves and I'm also on the MNQ. There tends to be a lot of resistance at the 50 mark and the 100 mark. So a lot of times it'll come up and hit the 50 and then bounce back down. So I like to kind of hedge my bet right at there and take profit. I do have the two stop losses here. If it does take me out, that is a $100 at risk because we have the two contracts, and then we have one up here, and then we haven't looked at anything lower than that as of yet on this continued push. So if we were to go any further down lower on the MNQ, let's flip back over here and see where we're at. Okay, so we've picked up off of this line so far, and then our next levels down would areas of interest to get involved for next best trade. 25,000 is always a big number. So we could probably look here at the 25,000 mark and put in another buy test right at that level right there. And I'm looking left and you can see kind of this little shelf here that is what I'd be looking at for the rotation. So anyway, let's go trade on and see. Okay, so right now we're hanging out in this area. Looking for at least I always tend to like to see a rotation back up near the -1s. We will see. So far we're holding. Okay, now I pause here because once you hit target, okay, then I always like to push that up here and bring it within, locking in profit. So I've got profit locked in. Here, I'm looking at the T line on the swing. I'm looking at 200. A lot of times 200 is that resistance level. So at 56, that's a lot of points between there. So I would say let's kind of push up underneath this little dip right there on that swing high. So if it comes back underneath there, we've locked in that much profit. And then if we bounce on up here, then we're able to take the rest of the profit here, and then also look at a new entry point either here, and then also here we would look at another, if it was to come back up here to the low of day, we would be back involved there as well. So trading on 1030 candle coming in, just trade and go. Now, because of the shelf here, I would move up here a little bit just because of that shelf there. So moving up there, I would have been following it. So I did. I followed it, and now I'm holding. So now the next question is, okay, now that we're at this level again where we got back in the last time, all right, do we want to revisit that level because that was a support level on the MNQ? We could go ahead and test that level once again around this 140. So put another order on the line. We're looking at the low of the volume. We're also looking at that volume shelf here on the MNQ that we originally started with. Okay, so all we're doing is rinsing and repeating another order here on this shelf. Okay, so that's all we're looking at. So we would put that order on the line and go on. Okay, so far nothing's happening, and just hanging out in the vicinity. Okay, so it did. Okay, so now wait. Okay, all right. So here we're at 113.25, whatever. Okay, so I would adjust this just a little bit because of the 100. If I'm that close to it, I'm not going to hurt myself with where my P&L is to move this down towards the 100 just to give it, or, right there at the minus twos even. Okay, so 38. So you're looking at a 60, 75 point or $75 at risk just by moving an additional 25 on that. Now, moving here, because we are at this level, I would look at another rotation back up through. I'd look at this top volume shelf here because we have plateaued a little bit in this high volume node right here. So I would be looking at it trying to trade or hold this area unless we were to get some major buyer involvement, but we have not seen that all morning. So anyway, so we'll see if we get stopped out. We move that down to 100. Or well, we moved it below it to 100. We moved it down. What we move? We don't need to move it to 90. Move it. Well, we can move it to the minus twos. We'll just hold it there. Uh, anyway, these are decisions that you make during the mornings or whatever. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So we look here. Okay, let's see where she goes. Okay, so she took out the low, just came out, took out the low, retested the low, still holding the current low. Let's see if it's got any more push. Okay, so now we're coming back into the 200 level. Okay, so we're at 170s. So we're going to tighten up our stop there just because we're already in profit. All right, so here, I want to move this to the low volume node right there. Yes, take it off of there. All right, so we're now at almost 11 a.m. It's trading in this area, this high volume node. It's trying to hold this, it's holding this high volume node at the moment. Looks like we got a little bit of a stall here. What's going on? Da, 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 da. All right, come on now. We're stalling out a minute on Ninja on the playback. Sometimes it takes a minute to catch up, so we'll see. All right. Well, so far it's logging up or locking up at the moment. We'll test it one more time. We don't get any catch up speed there. All right. Well, we'll just pause it here. Okay, doesn't matter. You can see the brackets. You can see we've moved outside of the area. We've moved through the gold bars. This is the M&Q side of things. The logic of where we were testing these lines came off of the levels to the left of us, where we tested it, where we tested it. And let's go ahead and I'm going to close those orders now. And uh, let's see if it's going to give us the, okay, boom. All right. Well, that's, 615. Of course, this is review, playback, hypotheticals, all kinds of crap. But the idea of this is we're not getting overextended. We're not trading outside any bounds, and we've traded a maximum of two contracts at any one time. And we had logic of where we were and why we were trading different things. So those are the kind of things that you want to consider on a day-to-day basis. So anyway, hopefully that helps just kind of as I talk through things. for myself, and this is my playback review that I like to do. Whether I'm recording it or not, I like to replay the day and kind of look at what's going on, what levels are being supported, or what, even on a push down, this makes sense of where price is being pushed to, or who's getting involved. So those are the kind of things that you start to play back in your head, and it becomes more of a realistic type of trade management, and you're never getting outside of the bounds of anything that you're doing. So hopefully this helps. Give me feedback, comment, subscribe, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, guys, thank you. Y'all have a good one. We will talk soon.